If you noticed, about 2 weeks ago I didn't post a video, and it's because I've been practicing very hard, because I told myself I needed to go back to and do my driving test. And guess what? I failed. Actually, it's a lie. I know a lot of you were hoping that I failed, because you can use me as an example to distract other people, but it's incorrect. I passed. I actually passed. I finally, after all these years of trying my best to be able to pass this driving test, I finally did it. Welcome back, it's your boy MrCV. I'm back, and I'm back with another special video, because it's a video which I'm so happy about. I started doing my driving lessons actually at the age of 18, and right now I'm 26 right now. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Wow, 8 years. 8 years. It sounds like a long time, but within that 8 years, a lot of things has happened. Obviously, some things, personal things has happened. I've been stop-start, also financially as well. It was a bit difficult for me. I had to put my money into other things such as trying to live. Obviously, driving wasn't my main focus. Funny part is, my driving certificate, I don't even have it with me. I can't even find it. But one thing I do have is I have my driving test report. Let me just go through some of it. For those people that actually don't believe that I passed, because I know some people, they still won't believe. Let me show you. Can you see? It says pass on there. So for those people that don't believe, I'm gonna go into how I passed the driving test, but before I go into it, I'm just gonna go through some of the minors that I had. So 1, 2, 3. So I only had 3 minors. 3 minors. Wow, that is amazing. Wow. Now, if you didn't watch my video before on my driving, I recommend you should definitely go and have a look, because it really goes through some of my journey as a driver, all my field tests, all the things that you expect in your driving test. Now, I only had 3 minors, and one of them was changing direction. Most likely, probably I didn't check the mirrors. That's probably why it gave me. And another one was position / normal stop, which I'm not even too sure. And then another one was undue hesitation, and that's probably most likely is when I'm on the runabout, and obviously you're waiting for someone to turn, but you have to check on the right hand side, and sometimes you're a bit hesitant because you think, oh, should I go, should I not? Let me talk about my driving test. Actually, I've done so many driving tests, like it's been such a frustrating time, because I know myself that I can drive and I should have passed a long time ago, but sometimes you just have to take on the chin and say, you know what, they keep failing me, but I'm gonna come back again. The last test I did before this one, I remember I should have passed. It was with an Asian woman, and I should have passed, and all of a sudden she failed me. But all the pressure, I remember that test, because all the pressure was there was so much pressure, and I was trying to stay relaxed. So when I finished, I was like, thank you very much, can I have my certificate? And she said I failed. And to be fair, when I came out of the car, I was so angry, like, and all the sweat was dripping on my head. And I remember on my way home, my driving instructor was expecting me to be angry, but I told him, I said, listen, I'm not angry about it, because I know I can drive. And I only had 1 major on that test, and the major was, I explained in my last video, so I'll definitely say make you check out this video. After the last test I had, I said to myself, I said, the next test I'm going to take my driving instructor with me. If you failed so many times, I recommend taking your driving instructor with you, because sometimes some of the decisions that they fail you for is totally ridiculous. And I think normally when the driving instructor is with you, obviously there's another professional there, I think they're more careful about their judgment before they make a quick judgment. When you're there one-to-one, sometimes they give you a minor or major, and you think, wait, that's not a major. But normally when there's a driving instructor there sitting at the back, at least they can challenge it. Now when you take your driving instructor with you, they can't help you. They're just sitting there, just obviously in case there's anything that they feel is not right and they feel is wrong, they can also challenge the driving examiner. On my way to this test, I told my driving instructor, I said, listen, coming to the back, because I've had enough of driving examiners failing me over the most littlest things. If I fail while you're sitting there, then I know I'm the problem. I need to sort some things out. And obviously you can check how I'm driving as well. This test, I'll be honest with you, I was very, very lucky to pass this test. Very, very lucky. I shouldn't even have passed this test. So as I took my driving instructor with me, everything is going well, and I had a feeling that today was going to be the day, because there's a new maneuver they've got now, which is you have to park on the right hand side. And when it comes to reversing, I'm literally terrible with reversing. Once I parked on the right hand side, obviously I did my little mirror check, I did this check, that check, then I reversed back a little bit, then I stopped, then I went out. The rest of it, I was driving really well, I was driving fine. I normally talk to the examiners, but this time I didn't even speak to the examiner. I just concentrated on my driving. I was driving okay. We now got to a part where he said pull up on the left hand side. This is where I was lucky to pass this test. As I'm pulling up on the left hand side, the junction I'm meant to pull up in, I missed the junction because I was going a bit too fast. I should have pressed the brake. But because I missed the junction, I said, let me go to the next junction. As I'm about to go to the next junction to pull up, I parked on a double yellow line. One of the rules is you can't park on a double yellow line. And once you parked on a double yellow line, you basically failed the test. Because I parked on a double yellow line, I see these other boys come up to me, we're like, oh, yo, he's on his driving test, he's blah, blah. In my mind, I'm thinking, yo, go away. Like, as I've done that, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, jeez, I've just messed up. I've just messed up because I parked on the double yellow line. But then I thought, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. So after that, I did my mirror check and I kept on driving, and then we went back to the station. So obviously I was a bit unsure because I could see in my instructor's face through the middle mirror that he kind of knew that I messed up a bit by parking on the yellow line. So he kind of had a feeling. But when we got back to the station, the driving examiner was like, congratulations, wow. And it was different because normally all the tests I've done, all I hear is, I wish you all the best, but try again. Or, unfortunately, you've not been successful this time, but make sure you try again. But this time I heard congratulations, so I was so overjoyed, I was so happy. But one thing I did mention to the driving examiner was, normally, if it was other driving examiners, they would have failed me for parking on the double yellow line. Why didn't he? He said that because there was no one behind me, there was no cars behind me, that's why he passed me. And it just made me think sometimes, like sometimes with his driving, sometimes you do need a bit of luck in terms of the driving examiners. I failed for things that were even as close to the parking on the double yellow line. So I would recommend, definitely, if you are doing your driving test, do look for a test place that is a bit quiet, because I'll be honest with you, driving in London, people are so impatient. They're always in a rush. They're not even bothered whether you're a learner, you're in your test. Everybody's just in a rush, and you have to be extra careful. With driving as well, I think it does come down to a bit of confidence, because you kind of need to be a bit confident in your ability as well to drive, because I'll be honest with you, driving is one of the most scariest tests I've ever done in my life. It actually is one of the most scariest tests I've done in my life, because you're under pressure of driving, and whilst you're driving, you're trying to concentrate on the road, but you're also looking at the driving test report to make sure that obviously your examiner hasn't given you any major. And also you're looking at the road, making sure you haven't hit anybody, making sure you're doing it correctly. So it is very, very scary. Now, just to go on this part, I got a motorbike license just in case I failed my driving test, and I thought, you know what, if driving is not for me, then I can pass my motorbike license. There are alternatives in case you do continue failing your driving test. Just on a final note, because obviously I wanted to get into just this final part, because a lot of people are like me, in the sense that they failed their driving test so much that they're frustrated. They want to give up and look for other methods of gaining their driving test without having to go to the driving test centre and actually sitting in the driving test and passing it. My thoughts on that: I was very, very close to doing the same, because I also was very frustrated, because when it comes to learning how to drive, it does cost a lot of money. It does cost a lot of money, and I don't think people really realise that it does cost a lot of money in terms of the lessons, in terms of the resits, and you also need to study when it comes to driving, because you need to know the rules of the road. it's actually quite funny because some people are very comfortable with the practical, but the theory test, some people fail it quite a lot. And some people are very good with the theory test, but when it comes to the practical, some people fail it quite a lot. The practical for me is more harder than the theory, for me personally. My advice for those people is, listen, I know it's very, very frustrating, and I know it can be very, very difficult. But one thing for sure, I know it's easier said than done, but please, please, please don't give up and just continue going, continue trying. You are going to get a lot of people that are going to fail you, that's going to tell you your driving test is not good enough, but you do need to believe in your ability. I do know it's not easy, and for people, for myself, growing up in the environment I've grown up, it's even more difficult because my parents never drove, my dad doesn't drive, my mom doesn't drive, quite a lot of people in my family don't drive, so it's even more difficult. So I don't have that support network where I can just say, oh, I just want to do extra practice, because I have to pay for it. And obviously paying for it is also more tough for me because now I've got a lot of responsibilities in terms of paying rent, paying this, paying that, so it's a bit more difficult. And I can understand why a lot of people do give up, especially if they've got children and a lot of big responsibilities, because the money you're paying for the driving, you can be using it for something else. But it's a case where you do have to be a bit determined in order to learn how to drive. When it comes to driving, some people get it instant, some people can drive like that, others it does take a while. People like myself, it takes me a while to learn certain things, but once I know it, I know it. Please, please do not give up. Keep going. I know it's difficult, but do look for alternatives. Look for driving tests that you know have easier pass rate, because when it comes to driving and a lot of things, as long as you pass, it doesn't matter whether you do it in Scotland, whether you do it in England, wherever, as long as you pass. Just try and avoid any illegal means. It took me 8 years to finally pass my driving test. For you, it might take a shorter period of time, but the fact is, I did it. I did it. For me, I don't mind how long some things take, as long as I know I can do it. So I want you to apply the same system, the same mentality, because if you believe in yourself that you can do it, yes, there's going to be a lot of driving examiners that's going to fail you. It's going to be very frustrating that you have to keep going back and forth, doing tests, doing this, doing that. But if you really believe that you can do it, then I believe you also can do it. So I'm going to leave it there because it's your boy MrCV, and thankfully I'm so happy that I've passed my driving test now after all these years of trying, and I hope and I'm wishing you the same as well. So it's your boy MrCV. Have a nice day. Keep watching my channel and keep sharing my channel, keep sharing the positivity and keep sharing the love. Thank you.